The comeback bolts strike again as the Lightning get another come-from-behind win, and Artemi Panarin, realistic trade candidate for the Lightning. Might be more realistic than you think. We'll talk about it on today's Locked On Lightning.
You're Locked On Lightning, your daily podcast on the Tampa Bay Lightning. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Lightning your first listen of the day. Every single day, we are your free daily Tampa Bay Lightning podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. As always, we want to begin our show with a shout out to our everydayers. Those of you who tune into every single show, every single day, we love you. We appreciate the support you give us week in, week out. I'm Nick Morgan, and I am joined by the Brian Bradley to my Chris Gratton, Greg Stephen. Greg, welcome in, my friend. Another come-from-behind win for the Lightning.
Good morning, Nick. These thriller games, man, they're just keeping me on the edge of my seat every single night, and I'm absolutely loving it. I'm here for it, man. They come back with these last few minutes, last few plays, and this team is just something special right now.
Yeah, good for the entertainment value, maybe not so good for the blood pressure.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah. A lot to get into in this game, including a prediction of ours that unfortunately went right yesterday. Also, another big game for Nikita Kucherov, Jake Guentzel playing the hero again, all part of a 4-3 overtime win for the Tampa Bay Lightning over the Buffalo Sabres, who came into this game red hot. We'll break down everything from this game. And Artemi Panarin, apparently, according to multiple people around the NHL, a realistic trade candidate for the Tampa Bay Lightning. A deal could possibly get done today. We have the Olympic roster freeze coming up. What would it take for the Lightning to put the bread man in their oven? We'll have to see what happens. We'll dive into that talk coming up on today's show. A lot to get to. Before we begin, I do want to mention today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. It's the last call for FanDuel football on FanDuel this weekend. And if you're a new customer, you can bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if you win. All right, Greg, let's talk about last night's game, a 4-3 win over the Buffalo Sabres. Another kind of late, intense comeback for the Bolts. They were down both 2-1 and 3-2 at one point. We had goals from Nikita Kucherov, who is red hot. We'll talk about it in this game. Oliver Bjorkstrand on the power play. And then with just 25 seconds left, Darren Raddysh slap shot goal with the empty netter to tie it up. And then Jake Guentzel is the overtime hero snapshot with just about 15 seconds remaining before the shootout. So 4-3 win, Greg. Let's start as we always do with our plus minus. Greg, give me a plus from this game, something you loved.
Well, I'm going to go with the obvious, Nick, and it's Nikita Kucherov. 4 more points, and includes a goal. Dude is just on a new level right now. I think I saw something that he has like 60 points in his last 25 games or something absurd like that.
Yeah.
Just absolutely, just almost dumb, like how good it is. He's just on fire. I mean, he's just carrying this team right now. And yesterday I kind of talked about how I thought Dominic James and Gage were going to be the heroes in this one. Nope. Nikita Kucherov put the team on his back once more. And when the stars are cooking, you don't really need those second or third line guys as much because, Nikita Kucherov's getting it done.
Yeah, it certainly helps to have one of the best players in the NHL on your team that can bail you out in any situation. And Greg, if you look at the NHL scoring race this morning, Nikita Kucherov is now just 5 points behind Connor McDavid for the NHL's leading scorer.
And he has fewer games, if I'm not mistaken.
He has fewer games. He actually leads the NHL ahead of both Connor McDavid and McKinnon in points per game. So he's scoring at a higher rate than those two guys. It might be time to break out the Nikita Kucherov Hart Trophy conversation yet again. Maybe that's something that we'll do on a future show. Greg, obviously, Nikita Kucherov, big game, 4 points. For me, I'm going to give my plus to Jake Guentzel, playing the hero for the second game in a row. And look, we went into this game asking a lot of Jake Guentzel. We'll talk about this a little bit later, but no Anthony Cirelli in this game. Not only out for the rest of the NHL stretch leading to the Olympics, but we've unfortunately found out is also going to be off of Team Canada as well due to his injury. Not only that, but Nick Paul is also out. So then we had what we talked about yesterday, Jake Guentzel center. Jake Guentzel centering between Brayden Point and Nikita Kucherov. So there was already a little more pressure on him in this game to kind of step up and perform. And just like he netted the shootout winner in the Stadium Series, Jake Guentzel comes in overtime in this one and gets the game-winning the game-winning snapshot. Yeah, the Jake Guentzel, to me, he's got the hero juice going from the past couple of games, and that's good to see for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Also had an assist earlier in this game as well. A great feed to Nikita Kucherov to good forced turnover, good feed, and that first goal. To me, Jake Guentzel is also somebody that's cooking right now, and he's stepping up at key times for the Lightning. So he gets my plus for this game.
Yeah, absolutely respect that. I mean, he's also cooking just like Nikita.
Yeah. All right, Greg. Not all sunshine and rainbows. Give us a minus from this game.
Okay, this is tough. I thought they actually played a pretty strong game overall, but I think my minus, it's just going to go to the first Sabres goal. I think that's really all it is. And I think Vasi wants it back, to be honest with you. And it's a great shot. I mean, I'm not going to take it away from Samuelsson. Excellent shot. But I think it is one that Vasilevsky normally would close the door on. Tough angle. Nothing crazy necessarily. Again, well-placed shot. But I think if he's hugging that post, that's not going in.
No, it was a little bit one of Vasi, or one that Vasi would want back. Hey, he at least made the diving save on his own turnover a few minutes before that. So, a little bit of stick taps. Yeah, and it's the second game in a row, right, where, you see Vasi kind of get off to, let in a goal in the Stadium Series case, maybe 3 or 4, that you would say, okay, maybe he wants that back. But then it gets better as the game goes on. So I would certainly say Vasi played hero later in the game as well with some big saves down the stretch. So willing to let that first goal slide for him a little bit. Greg, I am giving my minus to our predictions, particularly me, from yesterday's game, because who on the Sabres did I call out as being a player to watch?
Oh, man, Samuelsson. And by the time he scored the second goal, I was just like, no, Nick.
I'm sorry, everybody, for bringing to the universe, but, Matthias Samuelsson played one hell of a game yesterday for the Buffalo Sabres. 2 goals. He also, if you watched on the Tampa Bay Lightning broadcast, they did a little montage of him defending Nikita Kucherov, a lot of poke checks, a lot of aggressive stick work, did not let him, make it easy, to get towards the net. A couple of really good defensive plays there as well. But 2 goals for Samuelsson, including 2 really good shots, really good shots, including that second goal was a thing of beauty. You don't see defensemen with shots like that often, but great game for him. Good for my predictions, because so far I called both the Jake Guentzel playing center and Matthias Samuelsson having a good game, but I'll give a minus for bringing the Matthias Samuelsson big game into the world.
Fair enough. I got the over too, so combined we're kind of like locked on Nostradamus right now.
Yeah, you did get the over. I didn't get my Gage Gonsalves goal, but it's fine.
Can't get them all.
Got to walk before you can crawl. Obviously, Nikita Kucherov, Jake Guentzel were the heroes in this game again. Nikita Kucherov is absolutely on fire right now, as is a couple other Lightning players. We'll talk about Darren Raddish's performance in this game. Another big goal for him. Is he ever going to stop scoring from the blue line? We'll talk about that. Plus physical in this game. A lot of physicality. How did it shape the game? And long-term, what do the Lightning do against Florida without their top 3 centers now? God, this injury bug is getting worse and worse. All that plus the Artemi Panarin trade rumors that are heating up. A lot to get to on today's show. We'll be right back with much more Locked on Lightning. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Folks, this weekend, it's the last call for football on FanDuel. One final Sunday, one last kickoff, and the final chance to get in on the betting action before the NFL season officially comes to a close. We're talking, of course, about Super Bowl 60 going down this weekend. And FanDuel is making sure you're right in the middle of it with a special offer just in time for the biggest game of the year. And that's because new customers can get up to $200 in bonus bets this weekend. That's right. Whether you're backing the Patriots, rolling with the Seahawks, or you just want to build one last same game parlay, this is the game everybody's had circled. It's where predictions turn into plays, stats turn into storylines, and every snap feels bigger. It's the perfect way to cap off the season and make the Super Bowl even more exciting from kickoff to final whistle. And if you're a new customer, listen up, because if you bet just $5 and you win your bet, you get $200 in bonus bets if you win. That's right, $200 to use anywhere you want across the FanDuel app. So make it count, because after the Super Bowl, football season's over, and it's the last call for football on FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of Super Bowl 60. Go to FanDuel.com to get started, or download the FanDuel app straight to your phone. Again, FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of Super Bowl 60. Welcome back to Locked on Lightning. Nick Morgan here alongside Greg Steven. Greg, what else stood out to you about the Lightning's 4-3 win over the Buffalo Sabres?
Yeah, a couple of things. First thing, physicality, as you kind of alluded to earlier. 26 hits in this game. They really played the body well. It really felt like the Sabres were just kind of out toughness in this one. And that's something that, I've been looking to see from the Lightning. And we've seen it a lot more lately. And I think they're going to need it against Florida, that's for sure. But in this one, they looked very strong on the walls. And I really appreciated it. I thought, this was how you beat a more finesse style team like the Sabres, who have a ton of skill guys. You got to take the body. And they did that very well.
Yeah, I thought they absolutely answered the Sabres challenge. I think, the Sabres underrated in terms of their physicality. They're one of those teams where it's like, they're not physical in the sense that they drop the gloves or throw the big hits, but They get in there and challenge for pucks. Really solid forechecking team, really good along the boards. I mean, their two best forwards, Alex Tuch and Tage Thompson, they're big guys, Greg.
They are. Tage Thompson's a big boy.
They are large men who can certainly, teams have trouble moving them around. So I do love that. I think the Lightning have stepped up and were able to counter the physical and size of the Buffalo Sabres in this game. The other person I really want to call out, Greg, is Darren Raddysh. Another goal last night. We have a goal scoring streak, Greg.
Yes, for real. I mean,
5 consecutive games with a goal for Darren Raddysh. Now, we've talked about that a lot for forwards. We've talked about that for Nikita Kucherov and Brandon Hagel and all that. But to have a defenseman with a goal scored in 5 consecutive games, this is insane what Darren Raddysh is doing. I don't know about you, Greg, but it's just like maybe it's a little bit of a pessimist in me, but I just every week I keep saying it's like, okay, this is a really cool Darren Raddysh run. The wheels are going to fall off soon, right? We're going to get back to normal Darren Raddysh, right? And every week it just seems like he's getting better and better and better. especially on the offensive end, just getting more confident, not afraid to take the big shots, not afraid to make just, an extra pass. The teammates seem to trust him more. They are trying to feed Darren Raddysh at the top of the circle, Nikita Kucherov in particular. Are we in just a brand new Darren Raddysh experience now? Like, is this just what we're going to accept as Darren Raddysh?
I mean, at this point, I think we have to, because I'm in the same boat as you. Every night, I'm like, okay, this is going to be the beginning of a slight regression at the very least. I mean, come on, there's no way he keeps this up. And I'm sorely mistaken. But look, I'm grateful. My fantasy roster is grateful. And he is just on fire. And let me tell you, I don't know if you saw this stat that I think it was the Lightning broadcast that posted this, but Darren Raddysh leads the NHL in 90-mile-an-hour shots from a defenseman. And I think he has like 60 almost. I think maybe 60 even.
Yeah.
And the next highest is Bouchard with like 38. So he is just cranking them from the point, man. And it's just like you said, it looks like every bolt at this point is just like, is Darren Raddysh up there? Because if he is, I'm sending it to him, and he's blasting this to the front of the goal, whether it goes in or not. It's just going toward the goal. And I love it, dude. I love it.
Yeah, the power play is starting to look like it did with Steven Stamkos, where Steven Stamkos was in his spot. And you could just tell this, there was a lot of puck cycling, a lot of movement, specifically to try to get Steven Stamkos in a situation where he could just unleash that shot with a clear path to the net. And I've seen it a lot over these past, 10 games or so. The power play is starting to look like again, but with Darren Raddysh and that shot at the point, John Cooper has absolutely unlocked, Darren Raddish's big strength. And he's found a way to work Darren Raddish's strengths into this lineup, and give credit to Raddysh too for stepping up, because my God, like what a season he's had. I know it's a contract year. I know he's fighting for, a big, new deal, whether it's with the Lightning, whether it's somebody else, but good for Raddysh in the season he's having. And as you mentioned, Greg, a little disappointed that maybe we don't have the All-Star game this year, because I would love to see Darren Raddysh line up and take that hardest shot competition.
Yeah, for real. I mean, dude, I thought when I saw that stat, I was actually really shocked. I kind of thought it was going to be Bouchard at the very least, but yeah, Raddysh. And it's not close. I mean, that's the craziest part of the whole stat line. It's just like he almost has double the second place in 90-mile-an-hour shots. That's just so cool, especially from a guy who really wasn't at the beginning of the season on our radar as far as playing a large role for the team.
Yeah, I'll neither confirm nor deny that I think you and I each talked about maybe having him be sort of a waiver option at one point.
Mm-hmm.
Funny how the year changes as it goes on.
And you know what else, dude? I mean, you gave credit to Cooper and Raddysh himself for unlocking this new level to his game. But, I also think he really does have this injury bug to thank, because when this many defensemen go down, it kind of forces you to step up. And I think he does owe it to that as well. Not that that's a good thing, but it worked.
Yeah, you wonder if he has the same success of it. Victor Hedman doesn't go down, if Ryan McDonough doesn't go down. So just absolutely, I think not the ideal season for the Tampa Bay Lightning in terms of how some of these injuries have unfolded, and all that kind of stuff has taken its toll on the Bolts. But boy, they have certainly found a combination and flow that works for them. So John Cooper doesn't win Coach of the Year this year. I don't know what we're doing in the NHL and chill this year. But we talked about injuries and adjustments and all that, Greg. We unfortunately had bad news before the game. Obviously, still no Brayden Point, which, we kind of thought going into this game. Anthony Cirelli is out for the Olympics, is off the Team Canada roster, which absolutely hate to see. That bum for Cirelli. We know he was looking forward to represent his country. Hopefully he gets another shot in 4 years. But not only that, Greg, but unexpectedly, We hear Nick Paul's going to be out for this game and the Florida game. Was injured sometime during that overtime period. We don't exactly know when yet, but Greg, those are your top 3 centers, right?
They are. It's a disaster.
Man, and I like what the Lightning did to offset that yesterday. Jake Guentzel at center. You mentioned it. Dominic James, I think, has been playing a little bit of a bigger role, and I think has thrived when asked. Who would have thought a couple of weeks ago that you'd have a second line that looks like Oliver Bjorkstrand, Dominic James, and Gage Gonzalez? But they're doing what you need.
It works, yeah.
And I love that they kept the third line together. That they didn't try to move Yanni Gord away from Holmberg or Kirkensons. But I will say, Greg, I do think maybe moving into this Florida game later this week, that we're looking at maybe sort of a different, I'll say, style for the Tampa Bay Lightning here, especially that second line, because I think it's more for offensive situations. You're going to be a little bit more top heavy on that first line, obviously, because that's your best scoring line.
Right.
I don't know if you can necessarily put Dominic James and Gage Gonzalez out there and be like, okay, now go score goals in clutch situations, or, give us a goal, every other game or something like that. I think you may have to look at sort of how you deploy these lines if you're John Cooper, especially in that Florida game.
Yeah, completely agree with you. I think this Florida game is going to be pretty challenging given three centers are out. Unfortunate, but yeah, you want to pick up a win before this break. And I think most of all, I just don't want to see any injuries. I think you want to head into this break as healthy as you can. And that's seems to be a big ask for the Lightning this season.
Yeah. Well, especially with a team that has caused a couple of aforementioned injuries this year. But I will say that the Florida Panthers, not the best run for them.
No, struggling for sure.
Yeah, but I will say they're also going to have this game circled as a way to hype themselves up and get back in it. It is on Tampa Bay's home ice, so there's a little bit of advantage. So just fingers crossed that nothing stupid happens this game that we have to have 3 episodes calling out the NHL for.
Right, exactly.
That's my only ask. Of course, full preview of that game coming up tomorrow, and then recap coming at you later next week. In the meantime, though, today is the trade freeze for the NHL going into the Olympic break. And apparently, Artemi Panarin, top candidate on the trade market.
Let's go.
Apparently, realistic chance of coming to the Lightning. Will it actually happen, and what will it take for the Bolts to make it happen? We'll dive in when we come back on Locked on Lightning. Welcome back to Locked on Lightning. Nick Morgan here alongside Greg Stephen. And today is the roster freeze for the NHL heading into the Olympic break. So after, I believe it is 3:00 Eastern today, no more deals can be made. And apparently, Greg, all eyes are on Artemi Panarin, who has been healthy scratched by the Rangers the past couple games. Sounds like he will not play until he's traded. Seems like a lot of people think the Rangers want to get a deal done today. And that leads us to the Tampa Bay Lightning because, according to Elliot Friedman on 32 Thoughts, the Lightning are, quote, a team to watch in the Artemi Panarin sweepstakes. And actually, a couple other people followed it up by saying there's actually a lot of smoke to these rumors. Apparently, there's mutual interest. Artemi Panarin, actually, I guess, according to a couple of sources, said Tampa or Florida are his preferred teams to play for. It's just, and there's mutual interest for both of those teams. Tampa apparently has been kicking the tires pretty aggressively to find a way to make it done. It's just a matter of can they. So, Greg, obviously there's 2 parts to this conversation. 1, is it a good fit? And 2, if it is, how in the world do the Bolts get this done? Let's start with the first bit of that. Artemi Panarin. Are you liking the fit with the Tampa Bay Lightning, especially if it's beyond this year?
Absolutely, man. I am an Artemi Panarin diehard fan. I think he's an excellent player, just unbelievable. And I mean, look, he was excellent with the Rangers. He was excellent with, I mean, watching him on the power play, I think is why I want him the most. Because he fits in in the spot where I believe Hagel is playing right now, which is on that far wall. And he's not going to give you the Stamkos style from that area, but just his diligence with the puck and his positioning and his reading, like, unbelievable. And he's kind of reminds me of Kucherov a little bit. He's such a good passer, and he envisions plays excellently. And to have a guy like that on the other side, just absolutely deadly. I mean, the Lightning power play has been great lately, right? But if you put Artemi Panarin over there and you have him able to pass with Cooch, and you got Raddysh ready with the bomb on the point, and then you get Brayden Point back and you slot him into the bumper spot, you're deadly everywhere. Just truly deadly everywhere. Now that kind of goes into the second question, though. How do they make this happen? Because you're giving up some stuff here, right? I mean, he's not coming over for one guy on your fourth line.
Yeah. So the pitch that I've seen is I have seen the 2028 first round pick,
right?
Which is the next first round pick that the Lightning
have. Yeah.
A lot of early to mid round picks.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've seen Oliver Bjorkstrand, which you and I talked about would kind of have to be part of the deal to make the money work.
Mm-hmm.
And then someone like Gage Gonzalez.
Yeah.
Which if that's the price, I think it's doable. Here's the thing. According to, I believe it was Friedman that said this. It might have been somebody else. I apologize. But according to Friedman, Artemi Panarin really, really, really wants to go somewhere that he can sign a long-term deal with. So he basically does not want to hit free agency this summer. He wants to get his new team signed, sealed, and deliver here.
Yes.
If you're the Lightning and you're willing to make that happen, you do have some cap room to make it happen. Mm-hmm. But I will say, if you do, and you're trying to get the contract that we think Panarin will probably want, mm-hmm. there's not a lot of room if things go wrong. Mm-hmm. I will say that. And look, every time I hear Rangers fans talking about Panarin doing nothing this year, falling off, everything like that, I will go back and check the stats, and dude has 57 points in 52 games this year. So I don't think that's the case. But
on a crumbling squad too.
Yeah, but I will say that if for some reason something happens and this Lightning Cup window shuts earlier than you expect, you're kind of stuck with not a lot of draft picks and not a lot of cap leverage. I think that's my only fear. And that's what I think. If you're going to make this Panarin deal, especially for another first round pick coming up, and I'm not going to say Gage is a player to build around, but somebody that I think can be an interesting piece. I would, that's my only fear. I would say you got to be absolutely sure that A, you're dead confident in your cup window still being open in 5 years. And B, you're dead confident that Artemi Panarin is a missing piece that's going to elevate this team. And there is a spot for him, Greg, because I do think in the top 6, when everybody's healthy, Point, Kucherov, Hagel, Cirelli, and Jake Guentzel, there is a spot there. So there is a spot in that top 6. I just want to make sure it's not he's available, let's go get him move. I want to make sure they see him as a piece for this team.
Yes. And I kind of mentioned this, I think, a while back at this point. And it's a very minor detail, but I do think it's one that is overlooked and pretty important. My man is Russian, and lots of Russians on the Lightning team. And I think that kind of adds another level of chemistry, right? I think that's actually really good. And I like that a lot. And Artemi Panarin, any bad talk about him this season is just ludicrous, man. The Rangers are awful, and he's got Trocheck, but outside of that, let's not pretend he's got the same guys around him that let's say like Nikita Kucherov has. So I wouldn't call it any kind of regression. I think he's still a unit, and I do think he can bolster this team. I think he is useful. I don't think that this is just like a random ad. I think he is a good fit. I do believe that. Now, as far as what I'm giving up to get him, I don't want to see Gage go. I don't want to see Dominic James go. I don't give a crap about the draft picks, if I'm being real with you. Right? I mean, the Lightning do this every season, it seems like, right? They just cough up every pick they have.
And I don't care about them right now.
Right.
That's kind of the thing is I'm just making sure like we have draft picks at a time where we're going to start caring about draft picks.
100%. I think in my mind, I would rather cough up someone like Lilleberg than one of those like younger forwards. I think the defense is just so stacked right now. And we've even had conversations where it's like, wow, all of a sudden we have so many defensemen we can play, right? I mean, especially some of these AHL guys that have come up, they play so well. And if I have to give up one of them or Lilleberg or, someone like that, I think that's okay at this point, and it's funny to say that out loud because I think the last 2 years, anytime I've done any kind of Lightning content, I've just kind of said, we need defense. What's going on with the defense? We need some defense. We need more. We need better. And right now, I'm just so satisfied with where they're at that I'm okay with that. Like I would give up Lilleberg before I'd give up any of the forwards. But I do know that I think Bjorkstrand would have to go. I just have to, the right phrase, probably.
For the money, yeah.
Right. So I think, if I'm giving up someone and I'm able to, I'm just trying to swing Lilleberg, Bjorkstrand, and a bunch of picks. But we'll see. I hope they get it done because if he goes to Florida, man, I'm going to be so salty.
And you mentioned the Russian connection. He has Russian connections in Florida with Sergei Bobrovsky, his former teammate in Columbus. So let's hope he likes Nikita Kucherov and Andrei Vasilevsky better than he likes them. Roster freeze coming up later this afternoon. So if Panarin is traded, we'll know by today. If not, well, then we get an entire Olympic break to speculate about this, Greg.
Yeah.
One way or another, we'll talk about it on tomorrow's show for sure. In the meantime, be sure you guys are following us on our social media page, Locked on Lightning on TikTok and Instagram, pretty much anywhere you scroll. Also, be sure to hit that subscribe button, whether you're watching us on YouTube or listening in on your favorite podcasting platform. It keeps you guys in the loop when we have new content and helps us out with our numbers too. Win-win all around. That's going to do it for us on today's Locked on Lightning. Thank you for making us your first listen of the day. Back with a new episode tomorrow. We will see you then.